So you're not just with me today. Milka Meet the Study Tube project channel. Don't ruin my top, Milka, this is new. She looks very scared and nervous. The Study Tube channel, this is Milka. Holly and Milka, we come as a pair. Hey guys, welcome back to the Study Tube channel. You are back with me for the second time in a row this week. Oh, wait, Milka, do you want to go out? Okay, let me just let Milka out. Okay, bye Milka. She didn't want to be in the video. But anyway, yeah, you're back with me, Holly. If you don't know who I am, I filmed a video yesterday for the channel. We made a green smoothie bowl together. And yeah, I'm back with this video. I wanted to talk about how we can be more sustainable, eco-friendly, and give you 50 ways in which we can help do our bit to save the planet. I am very environmentally conscious as an individual, and so I thought, why not? Yeah, also I just thought I'd wear this top with the turtles on to get in the zone and inspire you, you know, the oceans, the marine life. I don't know, I just thought it was very appropriate. Okay, so yeah, I also want this to be quite quick fire, but I always say that and I always end up waffling. But we'll see how we go. I hope you enjoyed this video, like it if you did. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about is not a practical thing, but it's more of a mindset change. I think we need to be open-minded as individuals, open-minded to change, to make small changes to our lifestyle. Yeah, without being kind of open-minded and willing to be more flexible and do things a bit differently, we can't really get anywhere, I don't think. The second thing is not really surprising if you know me from my channel, but I would say eat more plants. Yeah, please don't come at me, but yes, I am a vegan. I follow a plant-based diet, and veganism to me is more than just a diet, it's a lifestyle. The battery is gonna die. Yeah, I hope the angle hasn't changed too much, but if it has, it's because the battery died. I am not sitting here and telling you you have to go vegan. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just saying that eating more plants in general is not only good for your health, but it is so good for the environment. I could sit here and give you so many facts, but I just wanted to talk about one particular study that was conducted by a scientist called Joseph Poor, I think, in 2018. He did this huge meta-analysis across nearly 40,000 farms across the globe, and he looked at ways in which we can reduce the environmental impact of not only food production, but also food consumption. And one of his major findings from that huge study was that even some of the lowest impact animal products have environmental effects that exceed the most environmentally damaging plant foods, if that makes sense. So essentially he concluded from that it's so much better to consume plant products as opposed to trying to find even the most sustainably sourced animal products. Fish farming, for example, produces so much methane, and methane is such a potent greenhouse gas. So yeah, I mean, there are loads of facts and figures that I could tell you about if you went vegan, but in a nutshell, you're saving land use, you're cutting land pollution, water pollution, like eutrophication, you're cutting your greenhouse gas emissions. It just goes on and on. And a lot of people do come back to food miles and they say, yes, you're consuming more plants, but aren't they surely transported across the globe? Which is true, yes, food miles are a thing, but they're not our only indicator of the environmental impact of that food production and consumption. It only contributes to about 11% or something of total greenhouse gases across the whole food production supply chain. So yeah, just remember that it's not our only metric. But in general, I do encourage you to do your own research, and it leads me on to my third tip. Do your own research. Don't sit here and believe what I'm telling you. Go out and seek that information yourself to convince yourself. Don't believe what I'm saying. Don't believe what anyone else is saying. Just do your own research. Number 4 is to use a reusable water bottle. Please try not to buy single-use plastic water bottles. 6 times as much water that's in that bottle goes into the production of that single water bottle, and I mean 1/3 of the water is equivalent to the amount of oil that is used in the production as well. Just, you know, try and get a reusable water bottle. I use a metal one over a plastic one. Tip number 5 is to avoid using plastic single-use cutlery. I went a bit overboard and got a set that I carry around with me, but you can just use a knife and fork or a spoon that you have at home and wrap it in some kitchen roll or something to take with you. There are lots of reusable things that you can invest in. So tip number 6 is to use reusable straws. Please don't buy plastic straws. They just go into the oceans and they are so damaging to the marine life. The turtles, just think of the turtles. There are metal straws you can get, and there are also wooden kind of bamboo ones. And then also for you guys out there that drink coffee, tea, any hot drink basically, get a reusable coffee cup. Try not to use the ones that they serve you, just say, can you put it in my reusable cup? And it is so much better for the environment. Tip number 8, I'm gonna get confused with the numbers, but I think this is tip number 8, is to use Hessian bags or reusable bags when you go out shopping. Just put one in your backpack or the bag you use when you go out, and if you do purchase something, you won't need to buy a plastic bag. You can just use your reusable Hessian bag. Tip number 9 is to turn the tap off when you're brushing your teeth or you're washing your hands. Just save as much water as possible when you're doing that. And then tip number 10 is to turn off lights when they're not in use. Buy secondhand clothes instead of brand new clothes from fast fashion stores. And obviously you can get secondhand clothes from charity shops, thrift stores, online thrift stores nowadays, and also apps like Depop, for example, where you can sell your clothes and also buy them secondhand. So tip number 12 is to do with razors. Try not to use a plastic razor. Invest in what's called a safety razor. They're metal. It will save you money because you won't have to buy a reusable one all the time. You just replace the blades that last a lot longer, and yeah, it's not plastic, so again, it's better for the environment. Tip number 13 is to use scrap paper as much as possible. Don't just throw paper in the bin. Say if something's gone wrong in the printer, don't just throw that away. Use it as scrap paper, you know, when you just need to scribble something down. The 14th tip is for those of you out there that have a pet, a dog in particular, or dogs. Try and use compostable poo bags. Again, it's avoiding the use of plastic. And then tip number 15 is going back to clothes. So I talked about using secondhand clothes before, but also you can buy from slow fashion industries. Hopefully, yeah, the cost in the future will drop as more people buy it, but at the moment it's a bit more expensive, but it is an option and it's better for the environment over fast fashion. Tip number 16 is to take a shower instead of a bath. And tip number 17 is to boil your pans when you're cooking with the lid on. It will come to boil faster, so it's more convenient for us, but it also will just save energy in the heating process. Tip number 18 is to consider maybe using a soap over a shower gel, because shower gels come in plastic bottles and soaps you can often buy without any packaging. And then tip number 19 is again to do with plastic. It's if you do have to use a plastic bag, try and reuse that and recycle it. And I mean, with all of these tips, I should just say that obviously we can't do every single one of them, but I just think being aware of the things that we can do to save the environment is the first major hurdle that we need to overcome, and then we can gradually introduce more and more into our lives. We are definitely not all perfect. I'm not perfect, nobody is. So yes, we will occasionally use a plastic bag or something. The second 2 tips, numbers 20 and 21, are for females out there. Tip number 20 is consider using a menstrual cup, and tip number 21 is to also maybe consider, if you don't want to use a menstrual cup, reusable tampons, which are also out there on the market. Tip number 22, we are not halfway to 50 yet, but tip number 22 is to try and walk to as many places as possible. Or ride your bike, do something that's more environmentally friendly. Repurpose your old clothes. If you don't wear certain clothes anymore, yes, you can obviously donate them to a charity shop, but if they're in a really bad condition, you can repurpose them, for example, using it as a rag or a cloth for your cleaning. Tip number 24 is to do with brushing your teeth. Try and get, instead of a plastic toothbrush, you can get bamboo or wooden toothbrushes. I think it takes a bit of a while to get used to the different texture in your mouth, but after you've got over that, it just feels like a normal toothbrush. And obviously, because it's wood, you can just compost it at the end of it. Tip number 25 is to print on draft and in black and white as much as possible. So draft is when it doesn't obviously use as much ink. Tip number 26 is to meal prep your food, because then you won't be boiling as many pans, and if you meal prep it in advance, it's more convenient for you as well. I mean, I should do this more often, definitely, but meal prepping is really great. And related to that, tip number 27, why am I holding up 5 fingers? We're on 27. But yeah, tip number 27 is to get reusable Tupperware. I honestly love Tupperware. We have so much in our house. You can also obviously buy Tupperware nowadays that's not even plastic, and that's even better. Tip number 28, I was looking at my phone the other day and I realized that I'd been given for my birthday last year, quite recently, this Pella case. But yeah, that's just an example of a brand that makes a more eco-friendly phone case, and so you could consider investing in one of those as opposed to just a plastic one. Back to food, tip number 29, And tip number 30 is also to do with food. But first of all, try and buy foods that are in season, and also try to buy foods that are produced locally. Tip number 31 is to air dry your clothes. So instead of drying them in the dryer, just air dry them. It cuts back on energy usage. And tip number 32 is to use reusable food bags or produce bags. So obviously in the UK, there is an excess of plastic covering all our food, but sometimes occasionally you might be able to buy it without plastic. And also in your fridges at home, you can store it in these reusable produce bags. Now tip number 33 is a bit unusual, and it will only apply to those of you that have retainers. With cleaning them, you can use a very simple at-home method. So I have always pretty much used distilled vinegar with some water. I don't know the exact ratio. It's what I use to clean my retainers. I do it once a week, and that's instead of using a commercially bought product. I used to use something called Retainer Bright, which came in loads of packaging and stuff. Tip number 34 is to reuse jars. So for example, jam jars come straight to mind, but use them to store like nuts or seeds or some type of food item, rice, I don't know. You can even make like a little cute plant or cacti thing in it for decoration. Just be creative and reuse them. Don't just always throw them away straight away. And tip number 35 is to put your dishwasher on when it's as full as possible. And tip number 36 is something that I don't really use, but I've heard of, is reusable face cloths to like clean your face and remove your makeup. It's because I don't really wear makeup at all, but I think a brand that comes to mind is Face Halo or something, instead of using, say, single-use cotton pads or face wipes. Number 37 is to try and consider buying a product that's in a glass jar over a plastic jar. So basically try and reduce the amount of things that you buy in plastic. The first thing that comes to mind with this one is peanut butter or any type of nut butter. Some brands come in plastic, others come in glass. Obviously the ones that come in glass are a lot better, so consider buying that over the plastic one. Number 38 is something that myself and my family do here at home. We compost our food waste. We have a compost bin and we make our own compost. And also just check what you can put in a compost before you start to compost, because some things can't go in it, like cooked food for example. Number 39 is something that I've recently become aware of, is carbon offsetting your flights. That just is a small thing you can do to help. Obviously flying is not the most environmentally friendly transport method, but obviously we do fly to places as humans, so you know, consider carbon offsetting your flights. It always comes up when you're near to the end of the booking. And number 40, to save power on your phone and then to save having to charge it as often, put it on airplane mode. And number 41 is related to that. When you're charging your phone, to speed up charging, which is not only better for you, but it saves energy, put it on airplane mode. It charges so much faster. Tip number 42 is to try in general and buy more natural products as opposed to more chemical-based products. There are always more natural, cruelty-free alternatives that you can consider buying. And tip number 43 is to try and minimize food waste. It makes me so sad. I'm heartbroken when I see food go to waste. Obviously a lot of that is out of our control at supermarkets, but in your own household, try and minimize food waste. Consider storing it for the next day as leftovers. And I mean, in supermarkets, you can buy reduced food when it's on offer, which is great, saves you money as well. And there is also an app that I recently discovered called Too Good To Go, where you can get food that is reduced. You can also donate food to food banks and stuff. Obviously be careful at the moment with social isolation, but yeah, that's just a tip in general to reduce food waste. This lighting is like so harsh and I look so pale right now. But anyway, we'll continue. Tip number 44, this is easier if you live with other people or you live with your family, is to try and buy in bulk, because that just reduces packaging. So try and avoid single serving food items like crisp packet. Try and buy in bulk, like big bags of pasta or bigger bags of rice instead of having lots of smaller individual bags. Number 45 is something that I am yet to invest in, I suppose, and they're not even the most expensive things. It's rechargeable batteries. Tip number 46 is to put more layers on before you turn the heating on. Vest tops, small vest tops, t-shirts, lots of those, jumpers, hoodies, sweatshirts, jackets, anything, more layers before we put the heating on. And tip number 47 is to try and be more of a minimalist. Just try and buy less in general. I know it's a lot easier said than done. Okay, tip number 48 is something again that I don't do, or my family don't do yet, but it's a life goal for me. I would love one day to grow my own food, have a vegetable patch, and it would just be amazing. A greenhouse. Oh, such a life goal. We can't grow everything ourselves, but to at least grow some of it would be really cool. 2 more to go. Tip number 49 is kind of a boring one, but try and use online bank statements, online receipts. We finally reached the last one, but tip number 50 is to share this video. Share your advice, your tips. If you have any more, leave them in the comments below. Obviously, actions speak louder than words, but also spread the message and talk about these things. We'll just help create this ripple effect and help save our planet, you know? Those are my 50 facts. I hope they were useful. Some of them are easier than others. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video in general. Like it if you did. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to the StudyTube channel. You can also, if you want to, follow my channel. I will leave that in the links down below. It's said quite a lot, but there is no planet B. We live on this earth. It's an amazing place. It's ours, and we really need to do our bit to look after it. So yeah, these small changes can have quite big effects. I hope you enjoyed this video. We will speak to you again tomorrow for another video. Bye from me, and bye from my turtles on my top. Bye.